How to master the Caro-Kann defense. In this video, we will see how to play the Caro-Kann defense and know the pawn structures and idea behind this opening. So let's start the main line. Here, white start the game with 1 e4, followed by we play the move c6. So we are going for this center in the next move with d5, right? So he played d4, taking control the center. We play the move d5. Now we are attacking this e4 pawn. He need to respond by 3 ways, right? So here are the 3 ways. He can play e5, or he can just exchange this pawn, or he can support this pawn with knight to c3, and white can even play the move like f3, which supports this e4 pawn. In this video we will see how he support the pawn with knight c3. Here white play the move knight to c3. We just take the pawn on e4, right? He just take back. Now we have too many options, right? We can play knight to f6, or we can develop this bishop to f5, or even we can play the move knight to d7 or e6. There are so many ideas, but the Caro-Kann defense is mainly focused on the move of bishop to f5, just attacking this knight. We are asking a question to this knight, and this knight can move to c3, d2 and g3. Here knight to c3 is not a good move because it's a natural square for white, but it does not develop his c3 knight, right? So we get a tempo for this bishop by attacking this knight on e4. He can play the move which is knight to d2, but it's a slightly weak move because he just block his bishop on c1, right? This bishop cannot be developed to f4 or g5. So knight d2 is not possible. Here white play the surprise move to the knight, right? So he play the move which is knight to c5. It's a surprise, right? So he's bringing his knight from e4 to c5 just to attack this b7 pawn. So we are going to just defend this. Do you know, we are not going to defend, and we counter attack the white with the strong move which is e5. Yes, e5 is a great move because it just attacks the pawn on d4, right? So we are asking a question to this d4 pawn. You are going to take my pawn on e5, or you just support this pawn, or you just going to take this pawn on b7. If he takes, then he's going to lose his knight on c5, so it cannot be possible. So we can even play the move like c3, but it is a passive move because we just take, he just take, and we just take the queen on d1, king d1, and it's a completely a minus position for white because he has a weakness on this c5 and his king is uncastled. As for black, because he has a good pawn structure and his pieces can be come into active in 2 to 3 moves, right? His king will be safe in double O or triple O, right? So these are the things plus for black in this variation. So here white will play the move which is knight takes b7. He goes for the third option just to attack queen on d8. So this queen cannot give a check on a5 because the knight will be taken this queen. So we play the move which is queen b6, just attacking this knight. He has the only move which is knight to c5. So now we can take the knight on c5 like this, right? So it's a good position for black, and it is dead equal because we regain our pawn, right? Black has a slight weakness in c6, right? So the c6 and a7 is a slightly passive pawn and a weak pawn in the future. White has a good structure of pawns, right? So this variation for black is slightly weak, and taking on c5 is something risky which makes our pawn weak. So we play the move which is pawn on d4, right? So we take the pawn on d4. Here white responds with knight to b3, just safeguarding his knight and just attacking this d4. And we are going to play the move which is bishop b4 check. We are giving a check, and here he cannot play the move c3 because we just take, he just take, and we just take and take up this rook. So it's a risky move to play on c3. So he played bishop to d2, and now this d4 is not attacked, so we just develop our knight to f6. It's a normal developing move. Here white play the move which is bishop d3. He is going to exchange a bishop on f5. So if we are black, very happy to exchange this bishop to d3, and c takes d3, which makes this d3 pawn as an weakness, right? So white has a permanent weakness on d3, right? So here black play the move which is double O. He safeguard his king, right? So now white play the move knight e2. He is developing his knight, and we are going to play the move which is a critical move. If you think this knight e2 is simply a developing move, then you're wrong, completely wrong, because this knight e2 does something else. It can even go to g3, knight to f4, and the important move knight to d4. Now he's attacking this pawn 2 times. Let you see it. We need to support this pawn, like playing the move rook d8 supports this, but it looks passive, right? So we just support with c5, which is another strong move because we form a pawn chain with two pawns, which are the very strong pawns, right? So here white play the move castles, he safeguard his king, and here we play the move which is exchange, just exchange the dark square bishops, and we play the move which is knight d7. We are just developing our knight to the d7 square and supporting this c5 pawn, right? So we are making a good coordination of the pieces, right? So here white play the move knight a5. He's thinking that he's going to play knight to c4, right? So he's coordinating his pieces by rerouting, right? So he's going to play knight f4, and in the future he can play knight to c5, knight to d5, and even he can just come back with b4 with rook b1, right? So there's so many ideas for white. Here black play the move which is rook c8, right? He is going to play the c4 in future, but here white will play the most simple knight c4, and queen b8 can be played, and this is an equal position, a slight plus for black. And here black can even take advantage of this b2 pawn, right? So on here he can just exchange with knight b6, or he can play rook e1 and just take control of this e file, right? To go to rook e6 and this to e8, and he can even play like queen d6 in the future and just go queen g6. So there are so many ideas for black in this variation. So in this knight c5 line there are so many things plus for black. So today we are see this line, and which gives a pure advantage for black. If you learn from this video, subscribe to Checkmate City for more videos.